Welcome everyone to another episode of Mental Unblock. This is your host Omar, and this week we are joined by a truly inspirational self-starter and entrepreneur. She started her journey back in 2001, and after 17 years of hard work, dedication, and persistence, she managed to build a multinational organization that spans across 15 countries with over 300 employees and built one of the most reputable brands. She is the proud founder and chairman of The Entertainer, the lovely Donna Benton.
Thank you, Omar.
Thanks for making it here.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
I'm actually genuinely excited and very happy and excited to have you. We all are, actually.
Aw,
it took a while to get you on the show.
Yeah, sorry.
About 2 months.
I'm too busy working.
Working? Well, lately you've been vacationing, so...
Summer holidays. I'm allowed a vacation in summer holidays.
No worries at all. So, listen, I want to get started by telling people out there. I mean, I doubt people wouldn't know what The Entertainer is, but for those out there watching who don't know what The Entertainer is, within 30 seconds or less, just give us an idea. What is The Entertainer?
The Entertainer, we offer buy one, get one free incentives to the best restaurants, attractions, beauty, travel, retail, accommodation throughout 15 countries, as you just said. So you save a lot of money. There's barely any restrictions. It's 7 days a week. It's valid for lunch and dinner, and we're a purely digital platform now.
Excellent. Now, you've had a lot of success lately. We're going to come back later on and talk about that.
Okay.
I actually tried to look up some content about Donna Benton. We found a lot of stuff about The Entertainer, but there's not much there about Donna. So let's get everybody to know, who is Donna exactly? Where were you born? Where did you live? Where was your upbringing? What were your parents like? So just walk us through that very quickly.
Who is Donna? I am Australian.
Okay.
I'm from Melbourne. I'm just a normal, average girl that, suburban girl that grew up. I did year 12. I didn't go to university after that.
You did go to university?
No, I didn't.
You did not?
I went straight into the workforce.
Right.
I always knew that, to be honest, I was good at school, but I wasn't great at it, and I always wanted to work. I think my dad put such a huge work. He was an amazing worker, so I just had great work ethic, I think, at such a young age. I worked since I was 12 years old. I was delivering pharmaceutical drugs to the nursing homes after school each night. And then I continued to do part-time work throughout my schooling, whether it be at KFC or a supermarket. So or netball umpire. So I have worked since I was quite a young age. My parents divorced when I was 9, so I do come from a broken family. They didn't have a lot of money, so I knew I had to earn money along the way, and I think that's why I earned. But I always knew that I wanted to have my own company.
Okay.
I felt like I always wanted to have control of something and to have that work ethic built into me. And I didn't know when, how, where, or whatever it would be, but now I do.
Okay. Now, let's fast forward a little bit. How did you find yourself in Dubai?
Yes, good question, Omar. I was 26 when I came to Dubai, and I got offered a job here. My uncle and aunt actually lived here at the time, so I'd only ever travelled to Bali. That was where all the Australians travel. That was my first international trip when I was 18, and Dubai was pretty much my second one, and I've stayed here for nearly 18 years.
Wow. Did you come here alone, or did you come with...
I had a boyfriend at the time.
Right.
And so he came 1 month later.
Okay.
And yeah, fortunately the job didn't work out after 4 months, and that's when I started The Entertainer.
So that brings me to the next question. What was your first job, and why didn't it work out? Were you fired?
No, actually, I wasn't fired. No, touch wood, I've never been fired. The job wasn't what I thought it would be.
Okay.
So it didn't work out.
What was that job? Where did you work?
It was marketing for a jewellery company.
For which company?
Probably prefer not to tell you that.
Okay, all right. Is it not on your LinkedIn?
No, it's definitely not on my LinkedIn. I wouldn't give them the honour of me having it on there.
Fair enough. Now, when you first... the idea of The Entertainer, was inspired when you were driving down Sheikh Zayed Road. I think you had that aha moment driving down Sheikh Zayed Road.
Correct.
What were your first steps? What was the first step that you took towards executing that idea? How did you take it from being just an idea to actually becoming a business?
Becoming reality. Look, to be honest, I had only been here for 4 months. It's a foreign country. I had no idea what I was doing, so you have to learn along the way. So all I knew is I came here with $3,000. I loved the idea. And I think I love the idea looking back because growing up, I didn't have so much money in my older teenage years or young 20s. So I used to use offers and things to get by. And I thought, wow, this would be great here, you know, to do because I love the concept and to save people money, but I had no money to do it. So my first initial reaction was I needed some funds to be able to do it. And as people know who start up companies, that's the most difficult part.
Sure.
You know, banks are never going to loan to you. You go to private equity, they want a whole... In fairness, back then I didn't even really know what private equity was 18 years ago. So what I did a feasibility in the internet cafe, which was under my building because I didn't own a computer.
Okay.
And I went out to my friends, really, and I just explained it to them what it was. I went to my uncle. My uncle told me I wouldn't sell more than 300 books. So that gave me even more determination because of his positive reaction.
So you really had a humble start.
Very humble.
You really started it from scratch. Did you have the $3,000 saved up? Did you borrow it?
So I had the $3,000. I also had salary from my old job.
Correct.
Until they wanted me to pay it all back. That's a whole other story. But yeah, so look, I went out to one of the girls I used to work with.
Sure.
And her and her husband believed in it, and they invested 120,000 dirham at the time.
Right. Okay. I was actually going to get to that question as well and find out who was the first person or the first people that actually believed in your concept, that actually supported you. Are they still a part of The Entertainer today?
No, I bought them out roughly 4 years. 4 years. I could do a movie on this, Omar.
Right.
I bought them out. They got divorced. I broke up with the boyfriend. So it was a little bit messy.
Sure.
But then I ended up buying everybody out, and then I had 100% myself.
Speaking of messy, I'm going to try to throw this in a tricky way. How easy was it getting this off the ground in the initial stages?
Yeah, look, it's not easy.
Okay.
If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. But one of the hardest things was you didn't have something to show them. So you had no product. It was your idea, your passion. I went to the Marriott. That was my first sign-in. And they really believed in it. There was a gentleman called Jeff Strachan. He signed in 5 fine dining and 2 family and casual. They had to pay for fine dining at the time. So he paid more than what I came here with. Okay. So it was just, he really believed in the idea, and then it snowballed from there. But I did have rejections and people came on board. It's first year publications. People, we're not doing first year. We need to wait to see what the second year is. So that was on the merchant level. And on the customer level, then people thought it was too good to be true. What's the catch? What's the catch? You know, a few other things that I did, I made these great wooden book stands that looked amazing, but they were too heavy to go in there, too big to go into the retail spaces. I didn't shrink wrap books, so people stole vouchers. Right, wow. So I knew where all the favourite ones were because they were all missing. Right. So yeah, so it's a journey. The first year is always a journey, and it's very much a learning experience.
What was the hardest part when you were trying to launch this business? What was it? Was it the funding? Was it any other resources, like human resources?
No, because that was just me. I think the hardest part was probably doing it by myself to start off with, because you couldn't pay for anybody else. So whether it be signing in merchants or sorting out retail or doing all the legalities, there was a lot to do. I had to go to the printers, I had to do the graphic design. I didn't know how to do that, so I had to keep going back and forth. So there was a lot of long hours. Initially, the hardest part was the finance, because you can't do anything without that. So once you have that, then it gets a lot better. Okay.
And at that point, your friends believed in you. They invested 120,000 dirhams into
invested
the company.
120,000. One of the hard part, I didn't take salary for a year as well, because you have to keep putting that into the company. So cash flow is everything. Cash flow will make or break you in a company. Right.
When was it? At one point, did you actually hire your first employee? Who was the first person that joined?
Well, I started. It was actually June the 6th.
Wow.
So I have the day. So we signed Media City. And the first employee came roughly around 6 months later.
Okay.
Yeah, roughly.
And what was that employee's job?
That was more to help do sales and merchant acquisition. Right. And then I did some contract work with some promotional girls to help me sell books at like the dog show or markets or the Fates. And then I gave them commission.
Speaking of the merchant acquisition, the Marriott loved the idea.
Yes.
I'm sure there were others out there that didn't buy into it.
Correct.
How much of that rejection did you actually have to go through? I mean, on average, were you able to gain 1 merchant out of 10, 5 out of 10, 9 out of 10?
Yeah, I'd say out of 100%, 60 said yes, 40 said no.
Okay.
So, but it was some of the big ones. For example, Jumeirah Beach Hotel.
Yes.
They don't go in first year publications. That was just a rule they had. Okay. But then they said, oh, we'll do lunch, not dinner. Okay. And I really wanted them so much. Sure. But you have to stick to your core values, and I had to say no. Because if they did it, then everyone else would want to do it. So I had to stick to the people that were doing lunch and dinner, and they were my terms and conditions, and I had to stick to it.
Okay. Now, let's fast forward a little bit later on. You ended up, after the company took off a bit, you raised another major round. I think that was through Abroad, where they acquired about 50% of the company.
Yeah, I wasn't really into raising. I used to have quite a lot of people come in to me for acquisitions or to buy or to do digital or along those lines. And yeah, Abroad at that time, they acquired 50%. That was about a year negotiation. So I learned a lot in the private equity world, lawyer world, accounting world.
Sure.
And why I went with Abroad at the time, they were a very reputable company, and they were they were in the same countries that we wanted to go to, and they also had the digital vision also.
Sure. Now, did they add more value, or was it just purely a finance thing?
To be honest, it was more a finance thing.
Okay.
What they enabled us to do in 3 years, what we would have normally done in 8.
Sure.
So, look, they were great business partners. I know things are a little bit different now, but, you know, they were great business partners. They did help when I needed it. I was their only female CEO.
Sure.
So I wasn't scared to ask for anything for them, and whatever they asked for, I gave for them.
Sure.
So it was a good partnership.
Speaking of being a female CEO, you had mentioned at one point during your interviews that the Middle East is actually quite, female friendly when it comes to female entrepreneurs. What was your experience? Was it difficult at all, or was it indeed a good enough experience as a female?
To be honest, I thought it was great.
Okay.
Everybody wants me to say something bad, but it wasn't. I was very welcomed everywhere I went, whether it would be in the municipality, the government departments, the banks. And I always say to people, they always used to have female queues. So I was in and out of there in 2 seconds, while the males had to line up.
Absolutely.
So it was actually very. Everyone wants me to say something bad, but it was such an amazing journey.
That's what I was hoping to
great.
hear, because I mean, I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs out there, some of them being females, and I can't help but hear many of them throw out the fact that, it's harder for a woman. So I wanted to get your perspective.
It's not. I think it's a stigmatism, but how I started and where I did, it definitely wasn't. And you just have to have that girl power a bit. You have to go and do it.
Sure.
I understand everyone thinks it's man's world, but that could be anywhere in the world.
Okay.
So you just have to hold your ground and go and get what you want.
I'm going to get a little bit off track, but I'm actually interested in this.
Okay.
Speaking of girl power.
Yes.
Do you think women actually need to be further empowered here in the Middle East?
I think a girl can be empowered as much as she wants to be.
Right.
When I say that, I think you could say that in any country, not just the Middle East.
Sure.
Do women need to be further empowered? I believe that women, let me get this right, women, we do a lot. Yes. So whether it be running a business, working, having babies, being a wife, friends, so we actually juggle a lot of balls in one hit. So I think we can be further empowered, but women are amazing workers because we're multitaskers.
Sure.
So I always say, if you want something said, ask a man. If you want something done, ask a woman. But there's a lot of men that are multitaskers too.
Now we've had a couple of a few entrepreneurs on the show, and I think it was Mustafa Koita and Sarah Al-Madani that said that there's no happy work-life balance type of thing, or there's no silver bullet. When you decide to be an entrepreneur and go into this journey and starting up your own business, something has to give. In your case, what was it that actually gave? Speaking of, being a mother, juggling a lot of balls and doing all this stuff, what gave in your situation?
I think for me, I've gone through different stages.
Sure.
So initially, when I started The Entertainer, pretty much my social life had to give because I worked really hard. I didn't go on holidays. I didn't take salary. I didn't buy any bags or shoes. I invested everything into the company. So what gave for me really was everything but the company. And saying that, I did have a social life, but I wasn't traveling around a lot. I stayed here. And then as my journey grew, I could employ more people. So you're a little bit more flexible. Okay. But now when I have 2 children, they're 5 and 8, so a little bit is a compromise of where balance is. Sure. But I also believe that you work for your children.
Sure.
You want them to be proud and you want them to be successful, and you want to commercially earn money for them to have a good life as well. But I also want to be a good role model for my 2 kids for work also. So I used to feel a little bit guilty initially, and I think a lot of mums, when they have kids, it's that guilt and I can't go back to work or I need to work. but I built a playroom in the office.
Okay.
That's what I did, and I took my daughter, my first child, to work sometimes. But I also appreciate the work environment where they can't be crying and things like that. So I'm very respectful for other mothers that work within the company at the same time. But I think I think I have quite a good balance.
Okay.
In fairness.
Now, you don't have to elaborate or talk about this, but what about the marriage? Did your marriage not get affected by being an entrepreneur?
No, because my ex-husband used to work in the company as well.
Right.
So he used to work, and we worked well together.
Okay.
In fairness, it wasn't work or anything that broke up our marriage. So we actually worked quite well together, and he was a good worker. It was just situation that really did. That's
quite interesting. Now, we mentioned the acquisition by Abraj. They had acquired 50% of the company at one point.
Mm-hmm.
Was that the only major shareholder besides you at that stage? What I'm trying to get to is, if Abraj had acquired about 50% of the company, how much did that leave you with at that given moment? Or were there other people?
No, I was 50%.
Okay.
And then Abraj were 50%, and they would have had people behind them that had a share of their 50%. So I was the single biggest shareholder within the company.
And tell us a little bit more about the recent acquisition. Everyone is talking about it.
I was waiting for that to come up, Omar.
GFH?
GFH acquired 85%.
85%.
Correct.
Okay.
And just to go with that, so now the shareholders, GFH Alpha Team also bought in as well on that. Zaruni.
Besides the 85%?
No, that was in it. So
Within
they
the
went with
85%.
GFH along with the 85%. So there's myself, GFH, Alpha Team, and Zaruni.
So needless to say, I mean, you have 15% or less equity in the company today.
Correct.
Okay.
Let's go with 15, not less.
I was going to say, can I ask how much?
15%. Everyone knows it was 85%, so I have 15%.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is there a plan to fully exit this anytime soon?
For myself or for everybody?
For you.
Yeah, look, I always say not soon. So I'm still involved. I'm still running the company. So,
in what capacity, if you don't mind me asking?
No, I'm still there every day.
Every day.
I still sign all the checks.
Sure.
So I'm very much operational. I'm still the face of the entertainer. I still do a lot of the media. And I suppose sometimes when you have an investor, I'm their eyes and ears and trust.
Sure.
But I'm still day to day. I still get into the nitty gritty of it all. And, I still love it.
Do you still feel the same way now that you're down to 15%? Do you still feel the same way about the company?
Yeah, I do. I think I still have a lot of money invested in the company on a commercial point.
Okay.
But you just don't leave something because you've been paid for it. It's something that I started 17 years ago. I have a lot of passion. I want it to be the best and the biggest that it can be.
Sure.
And I'm there for the journey to help it.
Excellent.
See,
the only thing, yeah, you did, because I have a feeling you're not going to answer this one. And I was trying to figure out how to ask it, actually.
Okay.
The only thing that's out there when it comes to talking about the actual figures is something that says 9 figures, which equates to, I'm assuming, $100 million plus.
Okay.
Why haven't you disclosed that number? And actually, can you tell us what the acquisition was, how much it was for?
It was a 9-digit figure.
We know that. Can you add any more
over
value?
100 million. No, I think it's because there's so many different shareholders involved that I wouldn't think it was fair for them.
Okay.
And it's not something that I would want to gloat about personally.
I'm sure there are people out there who know, and eventually it will surface.
My lawyer,
right?
my accountant. I'm sure when it surfaces, I'll be the first to come and tell you, Omar.
Fair enough.
But you're not far off the figure.
Okay, we'll bring you in for a second interview, and we'll ask you then. Hopefully,
okay.
we'll get it out of you. So. All right, now listen. I mean, obviously, congratulations on all of the success that you've had.
Thank you.
Your story truly is inspirational. I might even upset some of my previous entrepreneurs, but I'm really intrigued by everything that you've done, the way you started. Now, when you look back at your journey, what were some of the most difficult? In fact, let me ask you, what was the most difficult moment that you faced? What is something that actually resonates with you?
In business?
I'm sure at one point, let me ask you this actually. Did you ever cry building this business? Were you ever under so much pressure that it broke you down?
I think I am an emotional person, but I'm quite a strong person at the same time. I would cry more because I was happy.
Right.
Not because I was stressed. I can deal with stress.
Okay.
I find a way I deal with it. But I would probably cry more if my first book came out or we went digital or, it's an emotional...
So when did you cry?
It's an emotional journey.
What was your proudest moment?
Oh, there's been a few. Okay, I have a couple of proud moments, not just one. So when my first book came off print, that was a really proud moment for me. The Abrage acquisition was a proud moment. When we went digital, that was another proud moment, and the GFH acquisition.
All right.
And going global.
Do you consider yourself innovative?
Yes, I do.
Whose idea was it to go digital?
It was a team effort, in fairness. I'm not saying it's mine. We were always wanting to go digital, and it's, everyone has their innovation meetings. But it was a team. That was a team. It was probably more me when. Everyone wanted to go a little bit earlier, and then I put the brakes on and said it wasn't the right time. And then I think when we launched, it was the right time, and that's when Abrage came in.
Sure. And that was in 2013, I think?
2012.
And 12 is when you guys went digital.
Correct.
Okay. And the books are completely gone now.
My baby books are gone, gone. And I look back now and I love the digital so much. That was a really scary moment for me, by the way, to go digital, because I was so in my comfort zone about the books, but not my comfort zone in work. We were always expanding new countries and going deeper and wider and evolving, and we're quite an agile company. But to go digital was the dark art. It was something I wasn't 100% not comfortable with, but I didn't know enough about it. So it's a trust thing that you have to trust other people to be able to do that. Okay.
I do like that you recognize your team with this and said it was a group effort. When you look at your team today, who are some of the people that were very much involved from the early days? Who are the people that actually had a big impact in The Entertainer? Can you name?
I would say there's different people for different positions. So I always say that there were people with me that have been with me a long time that are still with me today. And what I did with the Abrage acquisition, I had an ESOP, which is an employment share option plan, and I actually gave mine away to 5, not key staff. I gave them to staff that have been with me a long time and helped in the middle part, like it was my sales manager, my distribution manager, finance, at that time. So I actually gave my share away to the 5 of them.
That must have been a
art director.
Tough decision.
No.
No?
No. Okay. They deserved it, and that's what they've got. So they got paid out on the acquisition, so they were very happy. And then look, obviously your C-suite are integral at the same time. So there's been different people along the way. Sales is integral, finance is integral, HR, e-business. So they're all, I wouldn't say one person, because I think it takes a whole team to build a company. Okay.
We just spoke about you guys going from print to digital. Was that the hardest decision you had to? What were some of the hardest decisions you were faced with? Or give me an example of one.
Digital was a big decision. That was one of my hardest.
How long did it take you to actually decide on that? Or how much thought did you give it?
I probably gave it 2 years. It was a long time.
It was 2 years.
I wanted to go digital. It was just when.
Right.
It was when, how, we had to get the wireframes. It had to be made. I said, make it for me, because I'm like one of the school mums. I need it. I don't want it made for the, I always call them like the digital geeks. Is that bad to say? Because they get it, they know it, but it's got to be made for the everyday person. It has to be user-friendly. And the biggest thing with The Entertainer is it's simplistic. So it had to tick a lot of boxes. So that was a scary moment for me and a big moment. Another one was to buy out my initial shareholders.
The 120,000 dirhams.
Because they got a great return on their money. And a great return. So that left me with not a lot of cash flow.
Right. You didn't just return the principal? You returned
No, they got a very big multiple back. So
can you share how much would that
at
least?
This way, and she will tell you today, she was able to buy a house and have stability with her in the UK. So no, it was very good. Okay. But that was a hard decision for me, because I wanted the company, but it drained the bank account. So I had to believe in myself and the team to build it back up, and it was a little bit of a risk, but it paid off.
Whenever the bank accounts were drained, what was your answer to that? How did you respond to it?
We need to sell more.
That's it. Simply that's it.
Well, they weren't drained. I'm all about security at the same time. So we've never been in debt. I've never had an overdraft. We've always had cash flow. But I like to keep a certain amount of money in the bank account. And when it goes under, that makes me a little bit nervous. So that's, check collections, finance, that you get to a bit more, when are we collecting the money, or sales? So you just have to put your foot on the accelerator a little bit more to build the engine back up. Okay. Did things ever get bad financially? Did you ever kind of take a step back and say, oh, wow, we're at that point now, or money is running out?
Did you ever run into serious financial
No, never.
stress?
No,
Okay.
no, never.
All right.
And if we ever did, it was me that didn't get paid.
Okay.
So one thing I am proud of, everybody's always got paid on time every single month ever since I started The Entertainer.
Okay.
And that was my main priority.
Cool. We were talking about decisions. Looking back, are there any decisions that you regret making? Anything that you might have done differently when you look back at your journey today?
No, I do get asked that a lot, but you need to make mistakes,
Sure.
and you need to do that along the way. You don't make them again, but it makes you the person you are today, and it maybe changes your direction then on how you might run something or move forward. But everything's not a bed of roses. It's tough, it's hard along the way, and you have to go through the hard times to appreciate the good times along the way.
Did you make a lot of mistakes then?
Yeah, of course I did. I made
give
loads of mistakes. I'm like, where's the flip chart? Where's the flip
Here's an
chart?
example.
Oh, well, the printing. I printed
Right.
too many books. I didn't shrink wrap them. The stands were too heavy.
Yeah.
They were probably the biggest ones that I did initially, just the print ones. I was so I'm the unrealistic optimistic.
Okay.
So I generally always do that. But look, you really learn along the way. You employ sometimes the wrong people, but you have to try, and you just have to find solutions to them.
Speaking of employing the wrong people, you also said something in one of your interviews that people out there get jealous or they try to bring you down. Did you have many of those people? Were there people that were jealous of you? Were there people that were trying to bring you down?
No, of course I did. Yeah, all the time.
How do you deal with that?
You just ignore it. You just have to be very thick-skinned.
Right.
So initially when I started, it got to me a little bit, but in your heart what you've done and what you've earned and where you came from. And I've learned along the way that you don't really need to justify that to anybody else. You know within you that you've done nothing wrong and you've worked hard to get there. And if you've had to fire someone along the way, there's a reason for it. And you just have to be really thick-skinned, and not everybody's going to like you. I say that in work. You're not there to be their friend.
Sure.
You're there to work together.
Sure.
And I'm sure, out of 100 staff, maybe 20 don't like me. But I hope not. but that's
sure
what
it's
it
not
is.
more?
They're there for their job, So, but that's what it is. You have to have thick-skinned. You have to be focused. You have to have the vision. And you have to be on the business and in the business at the same time.
Okay.
And then everything will flow from there.
How do you feel today when you look at The Entertainer, remembering where it started, your challenges with the books and the stands, but then looking at where you are today, across 15 countries, over 300 employees, and I don't know how many cities.
Yeah.
What does it feel like? Do you ever have those moments where you look back?
I feel proud.
Does it ever feel surreal? Like
I was about to say, it's a little bit surreal. I still love watching. My biggest kick, I suppose, in The Entertainer is when I see people use it. That's the biggest one for me, when I'm out and I see people use it.
Does that happen a lot?
Yeah, a lot. I used to see people hand in the vouchers, or I'll see them if someone's at a brunch and I'll see them redeem it on their phone. And for me, that's probably a really proud moment, because I think, wow, that's something that I actually started and created. And we've had a team along the way for the journey to do it. But the initial concept was the buy one, get one free to redeem. So that's probably one of my proudest moments, is when I see people use it and the merchants are getting revenue in because of that, and they're doing better for it.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure I'm not wrong with this, but you're also stimulating the economy. I mean, you're giving people a reason to actually get out there and transact. When somebody's looking at, I'd love to go out, but I don't want to pay this much, all of a sudden it's almost like a 50% discount, or the buy one, get one free. So it gives people actually a reason to go out. I'll be honest with you. I mean, I remember at one point talking to my wife, and it was driving me mental, because she had gone The Entertainer, and every other night we were out, and after she bought The Entertainer, she felt compelled to use it.
We love your wife.
Right? And I mean, I was forced. She's like, well, I bought the book. We have to use it.
Yeah, the value.
And she also, and I love your marketing tactics, or, how people perceive The Entertainer, especially when it went digital. She kept on showing me not how much money we spent that we probably didn't have to spend, but rather how much money she saved. And it killed me. I was like, oh my God, you've got to I was like, are you not looking at the 10,000 dirhams plus that we spent in the past 3 months going out?
It's the savings calculator that everybody loves.
So it works. I mean, very well done in that aspect.
Thank you.
And needless to say, that we're big entertainers of your product. So.
Thank you. No, we do put a lot in the economy.
Again, I was trying to figure out, when you look back at your journey, is there anything you would change or have done differently?
No.
Nothing.
I would I know that's a really boring answer.
No, not really.
But no, I wouldn't. You know, I've enjoyed everything along the way, even the products that I've brought out that haven't worked out and closed them down. But no, I've really enjoyed the whole journey. You know, it's a journey, not a destination. Mm-hmm. And I think for me, the reflection when I did the deal, again, one of my proud moments is when I actually signed the deal with my 2 kids. I actually didn't sign the deal in the office. I went home and signed it with my 2 kids because they're the ones that I do everything for. So that was a little bit of a reflection for me to do it to the 2 people who I love the most in the world. And then from there, I looked back. And then I do think, oh, what have I done something different? What would have I done? I'm like, no, I would have done everything still the same.
Okay. Now, I've been following you on Instagram, social media. You've been traveling quite a bit lately. Is that in celebration? I mean, are you giving yourself time to celebrate what you've accomplished?
A little. I've had a lot of celebrations.
Yeah. There was a lot of people with you. Are they friends? Were they family?
Which trip was that?
I can't remember.
The Bali trip. So I met my friends from Australia.
Okay.
And that was in Bali, and I did that with the kids. That was like the Lampoon's vacation.
Any employees with you?
No.
I think there was a gentleman named Dave. I think he was in one of the videos.
Oh, no, that was Thailand.
Something. That was in Thailand.
Oh, no, hang on. Dave. He's a friend.
Oh, okay.
Dave and 80.
Okay. Because I know there's a Dave that works at The Entrepreneur. I thought maybe you had taken some people.
No, that's Dave Ashford. No, okay. No, I haven't. No,
right.
I didn't know. There was no one from work. That was more of a friend celebration that I did.
So
it's been good.
Excellent. When is your next trip?
I haven't got one planned, in fairness. Abu Dhabi on the weekend.
Okay.
Maybe Australia.
Are you going to use the entertainer?
No, I actually bought a house in Abu Dhabi.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I'm going to stay there.
Now, just before we wrap things up, I wanted to ask you, for the aspiring entrepreneurs watching, what sort of advice would you give them? And also, I wanted to ask you this, what advice would you give to struggling or failed entrepreneurs who try to set out on a mission to achieve something, but for one reason or another, just couldn't do it? What advice would you give them? And then what advice would you give aspiring entrepreneurs who want to jump into this for the first time?
So I try and blend them a little bit. So with the startups, I always say, I think you're a born entrepreneur. You just can't be made to be made an entrepreneur. Okay. I think you have to have the drive, the passion, the will. It's very much self-motivation. There's some really tough days there that you really have to get out of bed and do it, and you have to take the knocks and the no cash flow, and it's very easy to give up, especially when you're by yourself. Mm-hmm. So to be an entrepreneur, you must have that work ethic and the drive and the passion and be accountable yourself. Secondly, you have to have a good idea. So you have to have the idea and try and be a leader, not a follower. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. And to stay number one, you have to work like you're number two. So you really have to have that drive and dedication. You have to have the good idea, and you have to have cash flow. So you have to find it, however it may be. It's very easy to say the banks won't loan it. You've just got to get out there, and you've got to have grit, you've got to have determination, and it has to be profitable. I would say after 3 years, if it's not, it turns into a hobby. So, it's fact, people can keep trying and trying for 5 or 6 years, and then it's a hobby and it's not going anywhere. So then you need to try something different. Or if you're scared and you want to leave your job, try it, take the risk, and you can always go and get a job again. So I'm quite a risk taker. Okay. No risk, no reward. Okay. That's the key. So you have to take risks in life to get anywhere, and you have to really back yourself. Okay. That's the big one. You have to believe in yourself, and you have to back yourself. And if you get knocked down, you just get back on the bike and you just do it again.
Well, there you have it, guys. A beautiful interview with Donna Benton, the founder of The Entertainer. Stay tuned to the next episode. Until then, this is your host, Omar, signing off. Goodbye.